Hey everybody, this is Kirsten here. Thank you so much for joining me for this brand new episode of the Balanced Vibes podcast. Today I'm going to give you some practical advice, some practical tips if you want to lose body fat using macro nutrition. So it's very macro focused and very much like fat loss focused episode. And I want to share this with you because I think that you are interested in sustainable fat loss. Who cares about losing 10 pounds or 20 pounds or going down 5% in body fat if all that comes back? Because this is not why you're doing this. I'm not interested in this. I don't think you are either. And by the way, if you have a lot of this yo-yo type of dieting, you've done this a lot, then it also really slows down your metabolic rate. And of course, it's also not great for your hormones. And it's just exhausting, gain and lose and feeling like nothing ever really works. So today, the tips I'm going to give you are for those of you who are interested in sustainable weight loss, meaning that you lose that body fat and then you keep it off too. And it's probably better for those of you who already have played around with macronutrition a little bit. Maybe you have been tracking, maybe you have even been working with somebody, maybe you have figured out your own needs using my Lean Ladies Calorie, Protein, and Workout Guide. Then this episode is going to be really great and practical for you. But if you haven't figured out your goals yet or your targets yet, then go ahead and grab that guide. It will really tell you what your calories should be for fat loss, what they should be for surplus, which is what you need if you want to put on muscle, and also what they should be for your maintenance. So go ahead and grab that. Again, it's called Lean Ladies Calorie, Protein, and Workout Guide. And the link is in the show notes, and it's also in the description on YouTube. So first of all, first tip, very practical one that I want you to know about is that obviously your calories and macros have to be correct for you. This is the foundation, right? Because if your starting numbers are already off, then you're not going to get the results that you want, or you may get really quick fat loss, weight loss, which is not good, as you're going to learn a little bit later. So you want to make sure that your macros are calculated correctly for you. And if you have a fat loss goal, then you first have to make sure that you have been eating at maintenance already at least half a year. This is what I want, at least half a year. That would be great. And at maintenance, that means that you're not gaining, you're not losing, you're eating a healthy amount of calories, you're just maintaining. And this is where we have to be most of our lives. However, if we have a fat loss goal, then we still need to know that maintenance first. And from there, we can do a percentage. So you're going to cut down a little bit of macros, a little bit of calories, and then you start seeing fat loss. So the numbers have to be right for you. And this is why you need that guide that I just told you about, because in this guide, I teach you exactly how to figure out what your macros should be. And I want to emphasize one more time that if you have a fat loss goal, then you have to be first at maintenance. And ideally, that would be six months that you are at maintenance. So you can't go there straight from dieting hardcore. Where are you going to diet? Because if you're already dieting hardcore and your calories are around your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, maybe around 1300, and then my calculator in this free guide will tell you that your fat loss calories are 1700, you're like, wait a minute, something's off here. But that's because you have been dieting for a long time and you should not be doing this. So always start your fat loss from a healthy maintenance place. So first point was your calories and macros should be correct for you. Okay, the next thing that I want you to know about fat loss is that you should not lose body weight too fast. Okay, so when you now set your own calories and macros and you start going into the what I call the fat loss phase, and you notice that already in the first 2 weeks you lost like 3 pounds both weeks, and you may get super excited. Wow, this really works. This is awesome. Then you have to know that this is a little bit too fast, especially if you are not a very big person and you don't have a lot to lose. Then 3 pounds is actually too much too quickly. And ideally, you want that scale drop to be around half a pound or 1.5 pounds per week. If it is a larger person, then 2 pounds a week is okay too. But if you start now going down really quickly and a lot, then actually what you should do is to put some calories back in. So let's say that you figured out using my guide, for example, or maybe something else, hopefully reasonable, that your deficit calories are 1900, and you figure out your macros too, and now you're like, oh my god, the weight is really going down and this is great and awesome. Then put some calories back in, maybe increase back to 1950 and see if you can still get the result, because we want you to get the result at as high calories as possible. This is going to keep your metabolism healthier. And if that doesn't tell you anything, then the fact that your weight loss will be better as far as, not having plateaus, or at least not having frequent and serious plateaus, that should help you too. Because if your weight comes down quickly, that means that the deficit may have been just really big for you and it wasn't necessary, and you're going to downregulate your metabolism more than what is needed. If you can get a result, higher calories, then by all means go ahead and do that. Now, if you don't get the results, okay, that can happen as well, then wait for 2-3 weeks. See, am I getting results in this deficit that I calculated for myself? Because I should be. So if it didn't happen in the first 3 weeks, then it's probably time to cut a little bit more, of course, given that you actually started from maintenance or from above. If you already started from a deep deficit, then don't be surprised if you're not getting results, because you have to be healthy first. So once again, if you calculated your deficit, it was 1800 calories, you've been eating this way, and you are not getting the result that you want to get, then cut a little bit and maybe take 50 calories off and see, can I get a result this way too? Because this might be exactly what you need to get things moving again. All right, my third point, very practical tip that you should know, is that you're not going to lose weight every single week, and this is okay. And also, it's not right, it's incorrect to call a 2 weeks where your weight is not coming down a plateau. And sometimes it almost like really blows my mind when people tell me, oh yeah, it looks like I've hit a plateau here, because they lost half a pound a week and the next week they didn't lose anything. And this is not a plateau. Everybody goes through that. There's a little bit of stagnation, and you're not supposed to lose every single week. I mean, you can, and some people do, but it's totally normal if there's like 2 weeks or even 3 weeks when things are not going down. And by the way, the more you lose, the closer you get to your goal, the smaller you get, the smaller the weekly drops are then going to be. You are maybe starting out, you lose 2 pounds first week, and then, fourth week, you lose maybe a pound. And then it gets a little bit harder and harder because you're becoming a smaller person. And then you just don't have enough, as much to lose anymore. And this is how it is. But yes, don't panic. Don't start adjusting if you didn't lose weight 1 week. Don't go like, oh my God, I'm going to cut 300 calories and go to HIIT class. This is not how it works. Body sometimes just needs some time to catch up, and you should give it this time before making more adjustments. The next thing that is important, and that a lot of people don't do, is to do carb cycling. But before I tell you more about it, I want you to understand that carb cycling is not the way of carb cycling that some big diet companies, I don't know if you can call it companies, but diet brands are doing out there, which is like, okay, a couple of days a week, your carbs are under 50. This is crazy. Don't do that. And usually these very low carb diets are then combined with a really heavy leg day or very, very intense like high intensity workout. This is not how you should be doing this. So the way that I do carb cycling is that, yes, there are a couple of days a week when the carbs are higher, but then the other days they're still on a normal level, so that you don't go like 50 or like less than 50 grams of carbs. This is crazy to me. But why carb cycling is necessary is that those couple of days when you are cycling, when you are increasing your carbohydrate intake, that actually takes you temporarily out of your deficit where you are in, which sends then your body a signal that we are upregulating, we're not in a deficit all the time, and your metabolism can take a little breather and be okay with the diet again, or with a calorie deficit again when you go into deficit for the next several days again. So these couple of days of higher calorie eating are actually very beneficial for you. And also I feel like they mimic a little bit more like real life eating, because I don't think that nobody is eating exactly the same number of calories every single day. So it's totally fine that you have like not only fine, but actually recommended that you have a couple of higher carb days a week. So you don't need to do carb cycling when you are increasing calories. When you're in the build-up phase, you don't need to do this, but this is for fat loss phase, because like I told you, we have to send our metabolism a signal that we're not in a deficit all the time. And those couple of days when you're eating higher carbohydrates, this is the message that your body gets. Now, how do you do carb cycling? This is something that I cannot get into on this podcast. It's super individualized. It is totally unique to you. Your needs, to begin with, your carb needs are unique to you, let alone the carb cycling, but it's not random. It's not just, all right, today, we're going to eat like a bunch of ice creams and cookies, and this is my high carb day. Sometimes somebody just recently called it my splurge day, and then she just went and ate anything and everything, and this is not how you should be doing this is an interesting conversation, but I thought this is carb cycling. No, carb cycling is not like cutting your carbs extremely low, where you can only eat like a half an apple a day, but it's also not going crazy with it and just like splurging on random stuff all day long. But there should be a couple of days a week if you're in a fat loss, then where your carbs are a bit higher than they are the rest of the days. Okay, then my fifth practical tip for you today is that you need a diet break. So let's say that you did a fat loss phase about 3 months. Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it can be a tiny bit longer, but I don't like it to be longer for most people. So you do your fat loss phase, and if by the end of this phase you feel like, okay, I actually have a little bit more to lose and I'm not really where I want to be yet, then what you need to do before you continue is to take a break. And that break should be about a week or two long, where you give your body some time to recover. And again, this also shouldn't be random. Actually, it should be calculated right for you. And again, this is individualized. I can't tell you how much it is for you, but you should have a week or two when you just give your body a little bit of rest, and then you can go back into a deficit and do a second round. And this is something that I often don't see at all. And what I see instead is this really adapted metabolism where it just plateaus because there has been no carb cycling, first of all, and there also has been no diet break. So now we're looking at 6 months already, and we're still in a deficit, and we're wondering why there's no more results. And that's because you didn't do a diet break, you didn't do carb cycling, so you never gave your metabolism that little break where you could get out of that deficit and up-regulate again. But you do need that. I promise you do need that. All right, and then the last thing that you need to know if you have a sustainable fat loss goal is that you need a reverse diet at the end of your fat loss. So when your fat loss phase is over, then what you have to do is to gradually increase your calories back up. So this is very similar to what I call the build-up phase. When I get somebody who has been under eating for a long time and need to increase their metabolic rate again, actually do the same thing at the end of your diet or your fat loss phase as well, gradually increasing your calories back up. And why is it important? This is important so that you don't jump back to like eating whatever, like thousands and thousands of calories a day after you have finished your hopefully successful fat loss phase. Because when we increase super quickly, then some of the weight for sure is going to come back, and then it wasn't sustainable, right? But this is the part that so many diets don't ever mention, right? Diets like, okay, do 12 weeks of this and then do whatever after that, or eat like a month, cabbage soup, and then what's the after that plan? There's no plan. So now that reverse diet is your plan. So when you do a reverse diet properly, you will increase your calories and you go up to your maintenance point, right? Up to your maintenance point. And by the way, that maintenance point probably has now changed because you are now a smaller person. You have lost some weight, and now is the time to go back and see what it is. Maybe you do the same calculations again in my Lean Ladies calorie protein and workout guide and see what is your maintenance now. And then gradually you're going to increase your calories back up again. And if you do it right, you are not going to gain a bunch of weight. Sometimes people are like, wait a minute, what was the point of eating in a deficit? Now go back to maintenance. I'm going to put everything back on. What was the point of all that? But this is not it. So when you increase gradually, you actually give your body some time to catch up, to upregulate gently, not like throw a bunch of calories at it. So when you do it gently and carefully and in a structured way, then you're actually not going to lose your gains at all. You should be able to maintain your gains. And by the way, you may gain a little bit of weight, but your measurements should stay very similar. Your muscle definition should stay very, very similar. So it's totally a healthy thing, and it's a good thing to do if you really want to maintain your results. And then once you have built up to your maintenance level, then hopefully you can become a little bit more intuitive with your eating, and you don't have to track everything anymore because you have a long journey behind you. You already know how to keep your protein high. You already know how to listen to your hunger signals. I'm not saying not necessarily let go of tracking completely. Right after that, reverse diet is over. I think everybody is different here. Some people want to keep tracking. Some people feel like, okay, I can start letting go of it a little bit and have maybe a day, 2, 3, then 4. When I'm not tracking, you can even start with single meal that you're not tracking, and this is how you then gradually let go of it, and then using all the information that you learned, all the things that you practiced throughout this process. So this is basically what it should look like. If you have a healthy, sustainable fat loss goal, then you should keep these things in mind. Let me go these things over one more time. So your calories and macros should be calculated correctly for you, and this is what you can do using my guide. Secondly, you should not lose body weight too fast. You should actually move pretty slowly. And if you are losing too fast, then you can put some calories back and see if you can still get the results. And the opposite side of that, if you don't lose at all, then adjust, reduce your calories a little bit, but don't do that before 3 weeks, before you've tried for 3 weeks. The next point is that you won't lose weight every week. 2 weeks, even 3 weeks of staying the same weight is not necessarily a fat loss plateau yet. So be careful when you use that. Sometimes your body just needs a little bit more time, and you may find that right after that, the body starts changing. But if there hasn't been anything after 3 weeks, then you may want to do a little bit of decrease. Then the next point was you should do carb cycling. It is healthy for you. It helps to upregulate your metabolism, but don't go crazy with it. Don't do 50 grams of carbs per day and the leg day and HIIT at the same time. This is crazy and not healthy for you. Next thing was that you need diet breaks if you have a longer goal. So if after 3 months in fat loss, you're like, yeah, I actually kind of want to lose a bit more, then you need to do a diet break and then go back to fat loss. And then finally, after your second phase of fat loss, if you chose to do that, you are going to do a reverse diet, which will upregulate your metabolism again. You're going to go back up to your maintenance point, and then you're going to be there and enjoy all the gains that you got from this journey. So this is pretty detailed, and like I said, it's probably more helpful for those who have already played around with macros. If this sounds like a total rocket science, you're probably just very new to it. And if you need any help, I'm totally here to help you. This is what I do literally every single day with all of my clients. I help them with their fat loss and muscle building goal. So if you have any questions, or if you need help with your fat loss and you don't want to think about this, you don't want to have like another thing on your plate you have to figure out, then contact me. I am really happy to work with you and help you out if this is a good fit. So you can always check out my application form too. This is in the show notes, and it's also in my YouTube description. All right, let me know if this was helpful for you, and I will see you again very soon. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and take care.